Gaming and BS, episode 264, being recorded Monday, October 14th, 2019. Welcome to Gaming and BS, a tabletop RPG podcast. I'm Sean.
I'm Brett. Welcome to the show. Welcome back, folks. Glad to have you all here. Sean, how the hell was your weekend, man?
I had to undergo Sean proactive sickness measures.
Okay.
I think I got this way exactly at the same time last year.
You did. I think you did. I'd have to go back.
Because my wife got pissed off because she got sick and I leapt off and went to GameholeCon.
Yeah, but you go into like the hardcore juice, sweated out, vodka scotch count. I don't know what the hell you do, but it's pretty intense. It's not for the faint of heart. I know that.
It's one part resting, one part sweating, and one part drinking.
So that's basically an old man watching a football game. So this is why old men in Wisconsin tend to live long. I don't know. Is that why?
On an elevated level.
On an elevated. Oh, I see. On
Yeah.
a less ironic level. Okay, I see.
So I'm hoping that it has been officially kicked, but I have a little bit lingering, a little bit. But I should be good. Now I have to worry about my wife getting sick because she gets sick and I go to GameholeCon. She is going to be so pissed off.
Well, that's the best place to be. She can't hit you from there.
Oh God, her being sick and having to take care of the dogs and the cats.
Not fun.
While I'm off having fun.
Oh, yes.
Yes, that's.
I was actually a little nervous this last weekend. I had a big data center move. I was stuck in the office on Saturday. Actually, first half of a data center.
Did you move it all yourself?
Yep. Pretty strong. Been working out a lot. Anyway,
it's crazy.
I lead from the front, man. When my team is in the office all weekend, I'm in the office all weekend. That's how you do it,
man.
And this will be as of this Saturday. This Saturday is the big kahuna of this one. After this is done, I've moved 3 of these fuckers this calendar year. I don't want to do this again for a while.
Brett, I don't think you have the reputation as an IT director.
No,
because
why?
if you were a true IT director, you would not be there.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm
You'd
okay
be like,
with
yep,
that.
let me know if anything goes wrong. I'm going to be fishing.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm not doing that.
Well, I'm just saying.
Because when GameholeCon rolls around, I walk out and I don't worry about work. Because everybody I just sweat with, I just sat there, put in the time. I bought the lunches, I ran the errands, I talked to all the executives, kept people off the back, let the guys do the job they need to do, the men and women who need to do it. I'm running interference. They work hard for you. It's team building, man.
All right.
It works.
All right.
Lead from the front.
Sure. Yeah, it makes sense. Totally. I'm
no Sean Kelly. I'm right out there in the front.
Man, I'm not leading jack shit. I'm just saying.
So I got to ask you this before so let's just jump into announcements here. So evercon.org. We'd love to have some more BSers running games. We got a couple of them creeping out there, so more BSers would be great. Go out there at evercon.org. Buy your badge, $35 for a weekend, and run a game. We're going to get Sean to run some games. And so, speaking of cons, we all know GameholeCon is coming. Is the Gaming BS Uber live this year? Is that happening?
Oh, yeah. If somebody needs a lift, let me know. The only thing
we've had this going now for what? What year will this be? It'd be 7.
Yeah.
Well, 6 years though. The first year, we weren't a thing.
No.
We were just a dream in our collective eye.
Were we?
Yeah, we were. It was GameholeCon 2 is the first one I went to.
Oh, I suppose. I mean, we have been around for 5 years. GameHole's been around for 7. I guess that math would come out correctly.
Pretty much, yeah. Coming there. Anyway, point is, we've had the Uber services for a while. Only a few people have taken. Although we have had famous people, solid gamer people. You never know. You drove Pat Cobain around, so the Gaming BS Uber has indeed driven out celebrities from the hotel and to the airport.
Yep. I put on the chauffeur hat and the nice little suit.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I don't.
No, it's more like a Speedo, cut off T-shirt, pack of smokes rolled up in a corner. Where you going, Mac? What's up? Where you gonna be? I'll take you there. It's all right. I'll keep the meter running.
So it is in effect if you need a ride from the airport to GameholeCon. The only thing is that in the Madison airport, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not picking you up in Milwaukee or Chicago, no offense. but it's got to be Madison, and you got to give me a heads up, and I will let you know if I can so that you can make accommodations else otherwise. I do have a game Thursday night, so if you're coming in Thursday night, that's going to be tough. I think my game ends, well, maybe it's not Thursday night. I think I run during the day. I don't know I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but just give me a heads up and I will let you know if I can make that happen. I literally live a mile from the airport because I like the rumbling of the engines. I get cheap real estate.
Cheap real estate. That's all good. It's all good.
It's like living next to the L. Yeah.
So I saw a really awesome looking Gaming BS t-shirt on Twitter.
Melissa.
Yes. Do you listen to Gaming BS? It depends.
That's right. She hit me up and said that she was looking for a shirt that had something along those lines, and I made one so that she could take advantage of such, I guess, slogan material.
Is
whatever.
that shirt available in our online store?
It is.
Is
it?
It
Should be. Yes. Yeah.
It's not. I'm looking at it.
Are you serious? It's not.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Shut up.
I'm like, no, I'm serious. I'm like, oh, I'll go to the.
Well, she
Gaming
had.
BS.
It's the only way she could buy it.
I have no idea. Is it a women's only size or something?
No, I think I made it. I made it available. You're right. It's not on there.
It's not there. That's what's killing me because
strange.
it's an awesome shirt. I love that one. And I'm like, oh, I want to buy one. And I'm like, son of a bitch, it's not there.
That is so odd. It is not on there.
So get it out there, big guy, because that's a damn fine looking shirt.
It
was her idea. It was her idea. It was an awesome shirt. And she came up with the idea and she's like, hey, I'd like to have it. And Sean pulled it together. So anyway, point is
crazy.
Fix that shit, dude.
I'm looking through all the stuff. Oh, interesting. I got some.
Anyway, Sean will fix that.
Unbelievable. She's got the only one.
I know she
Melissa,
does.
if you're listening to this, you are one of a kind in more than one ways. So there you go.
We got to get that out there, though, dude.
I will fix that for some reason so that other people can take advantage of that. But she has a number one.
Yes, she does.
So I don't know what's going on.
All right.
You could see a picture of Melissa sporting the tee. I'll see if I can link to her Twitter account. She's got a picture of herself that she grabbed it. So
awesome, fan. Thank you very much.
Yes,
so
thank you so much.
Very, very kind of you.
Like, not only buying it, but coming up with the idea and everything.
The fact that anybody pays any attention to us after 5 years is still pretty cool.
So I got her back in die roll shows, so everything will be fine.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Let's go to random encounter and get this shit moving.
All right. Where's the button?
He still doesn't have his new computer yet.
I don't. Pissed off. All right. So I will read the first one.
You're gonna have to because I wasn't gonna.
Okay, good. So this is from Mike H. He's looking for advice. Now, context. I'll read the first line. Hi, Sean and Brett. Okay. First off, I am glad that I was listening to Dave Jackson's podcast when you submitted your Because of My podcast, which was very touching. I live in a very small town in Idaho, and in the last couple of years, I've wanted to try the tabletop RPG games like D&D.
Very cool.
Yes, Mike. Of course, man. Everybody's curious, Mike.
Of course they are. Get in there. Do it.
Mike.
Anyway, so wait. Now something's obviously in his way. He's asking for advice. Let's see what you got.
Trying to get people to commit to playing or getting started has been a challenge. The one reason I think it has been challenging is none of us know what we are doing. Hey, Mike, we never knew what we were doing.
No. I swear to God, man, Mike.
Freaking hint.
This is jokes aside, all seriousness, man. The first time I started playing, like I may have told the story before, I sat down with my brother, my buddy Todd, and his older brother Terry.
What's up, Todd?
And Terry says, "Hey, you're gonna play D&D. I have no idea what this is." All of our characters said, "Just give everybody 25 in everything." We all had 25 in every stat.
25.
No idea how or why. First level paladin, 25 stats. It was just awesome. And
what is that? Plus 8?
Plus 100 million. I don't fucking know. I have no idea what it was. At that age, I thought magic missile was a literal like ICBM, right? I had no idea what was going on. Point is, no one oftentimes the first time through when you by yourself trying to crank it out knows all the ins and outs, all the pieces of it, man. I am serious. Not knowing exactly what you're doing is a legitimate thing, and it's totally normal.
Yeah. I have a story about that after this. So he continues. The one reason I think, okay, so they don't know what they're doing. I bought the Lost Mine of Phandelver starter set and have been reading through the rules, but I will be honest, these sometimes go right over my head. I seem to be a visual learner. Do you know of any good YouTube videos, or as I am new to your podcast, is there any episodes you would recommend for me? Any other tips or advice would be greatly appreciated. Thanks in advance, Mike.
All right.
So, Mike,
hold on. I've got one.
let's-
You start talking. I've got one.
Let's start with Mike. You got to start at episode 1, buddy.
And gotta start one and work your way forward. That's one way to do it.
And work your way forward. I haven't used that one in a long time.
No, I haven't. Start one.
Because I don't know if I
forward.
want everybody to go back to number
Oh,
one.
for God's sakes! All the lessons we learned from the aforementioned podcast master weren't all applied at the beginning. So I would strongly recommend, if people haven't figured out, I love Matthew Colville's work. If you go to Matthew Colville on YouTube and you start in his Running the Game playlist, he has intro number 1, Running the Game. This is literally start with number 1, and then number 2 is your first adventure, Running the Game number 1, and he has your first session, Running the Game number 2, your first dungeon, making characters. If you watch those, he literally sits down and builds a dungeon for you and says, hey, here's a thing, gives you a map, you can download it, he gives you all the stuff you need, and it's all 5th edition stuff. It is really well done.
Brett probably has it up in front of him, which would be cool if he just put it in die roll.
I'm going to throw in die roll.
Okay,
It's going to happen. What I'm saying is it's really cool. And I think if you start at the beginning, later on, as Matt gets into the more advanced stuff and different components and so on, if you're anything like me, I started at 1 with him, like, oh, what's this all about? I started watching, and next thing I know, I've seen them all a whole bunch of times. There's a lot of great nuggets in there. Matt does an amazing job, in my opinion. Check this stuff out. I will put a link in the show notes, but Matt Colville, check him out on YouTube. And honestly, man, I think, Mike, if you start there, that'd be a good place. Keep going. Sean, what do you got?
So, oh, man. I think Matt Colville's video series is good. I think there's probably a few others that are out there. As far as our episodes, they're all over the place, Mike. So I don't know if we should probably compile a list of, hey, are you just getting started playing D&D or a tabletop RPG? Here's the playlist, and we'll make a playlist or something along those lines. I got a few things in mind for the website, and that's probably one of them. So right now, the short answer is I don't have like a list that I would be able to just go, here, munch on these.
Huh.
But what I also wanted to say was part of you're not the only one, first of all. I actually had this happen recently where I do recruiting as a profession, and I reached out to a gentleman and said, hey, I can help you get a job. Not interested, like in the job that I had. Okay, fine.
Drat, says Sean. That's my
Right.
money. Baby
He's
needs shoes.
He's looking for something else. Great. As we wrap up, like, okay, well, nice talking to you. That was kind of it. He's like, hey, I just noticed that you do you play RPGs, and I'm like, yep, and you do podcasting. Like, he didn't put. He's like, they're both different. Like, oh, you play RPGs and podcast? I said, yes. Do you play? Right. I get, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, I come across people that play D&D in my profession because I'm an IT recruiter.
This is how Sean and Brett met.
Yeah, go figure, right?
Just in case if you didn't catch that one, that's exactly how we met.
But similar to Mike, he was like, I said, do you play? And he goes, well, me and my friends are starting to want to play and look into it, but none of us do currently. And I said, oh, okay, well, what's the holdup? And he's like, well, none of us know how, and we don't know where to get started. And I said, oh, shit, man, just, let me know. Give me a heads up, dude, and I'll run you like a 4-hour one-shot sometime. I'll come in, run you guys through something, and then I'll say, so you guys get all the hang of it. But after that, somebody's going to have to take over.
Yeah. I can't. I do not have the time nor the energy to be the full-time dungeon
And he's
master.
like, I might take you up on that. And I said, yeah, I'll show you the rules. I'll get you pre-gens and all that. And I said, oh, and by the way, there's a gaming convention coming up.
Yep.
Oh, really? Yeah. And I said, oh, and by the way, I do a podcast. You can go and listen to that. He's like jotting all this stuff down.
That's
Like,
awesome.
So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well,
So Josh, if you're listening to this, buddy, I'm talking about you. So hopefully he doesn't. So I think his friends are putting the pressure on him specifically.
oh, probably.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, though, one of the things you mentioned is you're a very small town in Idaho. And, I grew up in what I thought was a pretty small town in central Wisconsin. And it turned out the older I got that there's a fuck ton of people who are actually playing D&D or Vampire or Amber or GURPS, Warhammer, Fantasy Battles. There's all sorts of stuff. I do not know the town you're in, so I don't know. Do you have a comic book shop? Do you have a friendly local gaming store, someplace that sells board games? Do you have a bookstore in town? I don't know where you're at, dude.
It's
But-
probably the same place Napoleon Dynamite was.
It could well be.
Yeah.
God, I feel
Well,
bad
Uncle
for you.
Rico.
Anyway, point is that
One for
sometimes
Pedro.
if you have a gaming store, and I know we've talked and we've railed against the bad gaming store and praised the good ones, but Adventurers League can be a very good way, especially at certain game stores. We're like, hey, have you tried? I've never played before. Would you help me? The men and women, by and large, who are working running Adventurers League stuff, love getting new players. I've never met anybody who doesn't like teaching it, right? If you're running Adventures League, they have a pretty good time with it. So, but if you're in a place where like, look, the closest one I could get to is an hour drive, it's a long fucking way, and blah, blah, blah. I seriously, Matt Colville's stuff is, especially if you start at the beginning and you go through those first few, you're going to get a good taste for it. And I think if you're looking at that, and then the way the YouTube algorithm works, right? You go there and you start watching those, you're going to get bumped into a few others. Actual plays can be okay. Sean, I've touched on it a bit from a podcast perspective. I mean, I love my Avalon Actual Play podcast, but it's not going to teach you how. It's not.
No.
That's not its purpose. That's more entertainment. If you understand the game system, it's a setting thing, so on and so forth. It's not going to teach you how. I really think starting with the Matt Colville stuff, and then if you do search on YouTube, you may after that you may find like how to play, and you might find some good stuff. But Colville stuff is good and it's digestible. So anyway, enough praise there.
Mike, if you go to episode 220, so if you go to gamingandbs.com/220, that's the one we did on organized play. So that's Adventurers League. That's what Brett is alluding to.
Yeah, I'm not Brent. Haven't ever been.
Brentus Maximus is alluding to. And that will give you an understanding of what organized play is. And that sometimes is a good spot to start if you can. And sometimes organized play isn't only done in a local game store. Sometimes they'll run that online.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a very uniform way of getting in and learning some of that too. So
The other thing I would say in a parting piece here, Mike, is if you jack this up, no one cares.
no.
No, I mean seriously. We joke about this.
You're
on the
your
show.
own expert.
There are there are no gaming police. We've said this before. This is like the perfect con costume. If you want to cosplay, go as the gaming cop.
Melissa wants to go to Gamehole Con and dress up as the
con police,
yeah.
RPG cop.
Yeah.
I want her to hand out tickets like, I'm sorry, metagaming $5 or something like walk up, take people's D20s. I'm sorry, metagaming, give me 2 D20s. Anyway, point is, Mike, if you screw it up, you go, oh, guess what, guys? I ran that combat wrong. The bad guy should have been doing D10 damage instead of D8. It's not a big deal. And I think Lost Minds of Phandelver isn't bad. Sean, you have looked at the newer version of the beginner's box set for 5e. You poked around with that, and I believe you had said that it was better, in your opinion, than Lost Minds.
So
I'm totally putting Sean on the spot. You should see his face. He's like, fuck, I forget.
I would get the newer one, Essentials.
Essentials, thank you.
I would get the Essentials kit if you can spring for it. The reason is it's got some stuff in there that would make a newcomer feel a little more comfortable, but it doesn't come with pre-gens. And the starter set.
Oh, that's right.
And the starter set does. So
it's kind of like a two-prong approach to learning how, if you will. Two different boxes.
Yeah, somebody will say, well, yeah, great, because you want to learn how to create a character. And then there are some that, and then there will be some that will say, "Oh, I just want these," and then I can start to run the game.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the combination of the two, they go hand in hand and help out pretty well. Yeah, we could sit here and talk to Mike all day.
Oh, totally, man. I mean, as corny as it sounds, you go to dnd.wizards.com, Wizards of the Coast website, and they have links to different things about their games. They often have different links to, hey, here's a podcast we're on or whatever it is. So you may find some stuff there too. I mean, seriously, man, YouTube searches and go to the company that's making the game, go to their website, and you often will find some great stuff. So anyway, honestly, man,
we will be here.
Yeah, totally. And Mike H, man, it is awesome that you and your buddies, you men and women who are wanting to play here, you're into it. That's cool. It's a hell of a damn good hobby. I've been doing this since 3rd grade. I'm in my 40s. I still love this. I still love this hobby, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, man. Welcome into the fold, dude.
Absolutely. All right. What do we got here?
Jello.
And we're thinking we might not get to this one, but hey, there's always room for Jello. Sends us something about being serious. Hey guys, just responding to a question. Sorry, bad joke. About character's age and experience that was brought up in Why So Serious. One of my favorite backgrounds I've come up with was for a 40-year-old human fighter. Long story short, he was a farmer his entire life. His son got mixed up with the wrong crowd and disappeared. He sold his farm and everything he owned to buy armor and a sword and set out to find the boy. That example isn't much help in the human versus elf situation, but it can be done. Another solution is to switch to a game that doesn't use levels. When I run Desolation, the Ubiquity system, I tend to grant bonus experience for new characters to spend based on their age and background. At a certain age threshold, they begin to lose attributes, but they still have XP to spend. Hope that helps at all. So what Jello's referring to is on the Why So Serious episode, one of our listeners had written in and talked about age differences between PCs and so forth. And this is a response to that. Jello, I think that's a damn good idea. I mean, sometimes it's fun to have that backstory in there. And like, why are you... Everyone else is 16. How come you're 40 years old and only first level? Well, here's why. I was a farmer up until now, and goblins ate my baby, so I'm out. I'm out to take them down. Or damn kobolds took Margaret, or they stole Horace. I got to get them back. So it's just good stuff you can do there. I like that. Thank you, Joe. That's good ideas. Anything else, man?
No.
Little thin.
Well, the last episode dropped pretty late.
Oh, so
and it probably sucked.
Probably did.
No, I don't know. It dropped late because I don't have a computer.
Well, you got a new one coming, which is good.
Yeah.
You could actually, I know, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot see Sean's face, but when I mention new computer, his eyes light up. He gets a little radiant glow. He's so happy.
I would be happier if it wasn't so expensive. I sprung too much money.
That's
Anyways.
Okay. It's all good. Let's move on to the main topic, man. Let's go on. Let's leave the pain of financial wisdom behind.
Yeah.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Matt Seiberlich over on our forums, gamingbs.com. Check out our forum section. He says, I'd like to hear the BS take on aligning GM and player expectations. I've talked about this before, Matt. What could you be talking about? Regarding the description of in-game elements and actions. Wordy I know, but this is something that appears most sessions in the group that I play in or GM for. What I'm referring to is how to align the way the GM and players exchange info. The best example I have is a GM looking for the players to say, I'm looking for any irregularities in the walls, drafts, breaks in the mortar, versus I search the room. Both can be effective in the game, but only if the GM and player expectations are aligned. I know this is something of a session 0 thing, but always winds up in my group that we still have to hammer out things through a case-by-case basis until we've built up a vocabulary of action descriptions and expectations that both parties understand. The other side of the coin is that the GM descriptions of in-game elements. How much do you give as the initial description of location? How much is revealed only when the players ask pointed questions? I tend towards the middle ground, but most important thing is obviously that the GM and players' expectations align.
Oh, God.
So, Matt, always good for a topic, always good for comment. I looked at this and I'm like, yeah, the first thing I'm like, well, we talked about this. This is kind of the whole I search, I Greyhawk it.
Yeah, my buddy Doc.
Old school callback versus I check the floor, I roll marbles, I pour water, I do blah, blah. We've talked about that type of thing before. At the end of this one, Sean, this got me thinking about ways I, as a game master, have dealt with descriptions. And I found my description approach, I tool it based on the attention span of my players.
Well,
you know what I'm talking about?
It's like leadership. You can't treat everybody the same.
No, you can't. Equal, but fair, but not equal.
That's okay.
That's
sure.
That's a parenting thing. Everyone's treated fairly, not necessarily equally.
Okay.
Ask my oldest son that. Ask my oldest son that. What? How come?
It's an age thing.
How come the other daughter got a thing? Well, she didn't rip the front of the car off.
Yeah.
This is why that was a thing. This is not a thing.
Right. Well, and one person may be 6 years old and the other one might be 16.
And how come this? Well, AJ, Connor happens to be an adult and can do this.
Right.
Oh, yes. See, he's 20. You are 13.
Right.
Point being, example. Let me give you an example here. One of my favorite things I used to do in high school to get people to pay a fucking attention. I want to set the stage, right? I want to set a mood. I describe a room. You walk in, you see the mold, the sconces in the walls, the torches half lit, the flickering lights, the stones, blah, 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 blah. But all that is actually inconsequential compared to the large dragon. What? You buried the lead, motherfucker. Oh my God, there's a dragon. Jeez, why didn't you tell her right out of the gate? Because what happens, my players will get complacent. Players want to get right to the heart of it. They want to get to the juicy bit, right away. And I'm like, no, there's this cool stuff. Because what would happen is I'd go, you open the door and there's a dragon. And someone would do so. Well, what else is in the room? I'm like, oh my God. Okay. This is ages before people would say, well, I assume it's in a dragon's lair. I pick up a sword that's lying in the garbage or that's lying on the side. I pick up a bone or I do something. This is honestly very old school approach and just younger play styles insofar as we didn't know to do it any differently. People constantly ask me what is in the room. I got sick of describing it after combat had joined. So I describe the room and then say, oh, by the way, there's a dragon there. Oh, crap, it's a dragon. They would look at me and go, God damn you, son of a bitch, you buried the lead. Well, that was partly to get their attention and make sure that they actually paid attention to me. Then I started playing with other gamers, like when I ran Avalon for, what was it? Let's see, you, Wayne's daughter, Joe Swick, and Brian were there, and I was running. You guys paid attention to everything all the way through. So I didn't have to pull out any sneaky descriptive tactics to get you guys to pay attention because you were glued on my every word. At least you acted like you were. Might have been the beer. Don't know. No, you weren't.
Yeah.
So that was all done. I was changing my tactics and my approach. I do this anyway, based on how I see the players reacting to descriptive text in one way, shape, or the other. I've never actually sat down and said, this is how I'm going to describe stuff. Is that okay? We've never had a session 0 discussion on expectations with descriptions. Sean, have you ever done such a thing, or how do you, what's been your experience with GM descriptions?
I've run this gamut before.
Okay.
And I've never laid it out to the point where it's black and white, right? I haven't sat down and set the expectations like Matt has kind of said, hey, how, session 0, by the way, when you look in and you say search or you're doing a particular skill, you have to describe what you're doing in the narrative so that I understand exactly what you're kind of doing. And therefore I can act accordingly. So I've never really done that. I've just accepted the fact that they're going to do whatever it is they do, how they do it. However that is done. So they walk in the room and say, I searched the room. Do
you punish them insofar as not giving them?
I punish them every single minute I can get, bro.
So when I say punish, I mean this. So I walk in the room, say, well, I Greyhawk the room. Do you go, deep sigh?
Yeah.
Okay. So where are you searching? Describe what you're doing. Do you coax it out of them, or do you sit back, roll your eyes, and go, fine, you sons of guns. Fine. Roll your fucking search check and let's be on with it. Or do you try to encourage them and teach them what you'd like?
I Sometimes it depends.
Hey, you said the thing that's on the t-shirt.
I have the problem with being wishy-washy myself in that approach well, it doesn't matter, that's fine. They go in there, they search, I tell them what's in there, they make a roll. Or they go in there and they go, okay, I look under this, I look under that. Or I prompt them to get more descriptive. It bites me in the ass. And this is why.
Lay it on me.
If they say, okay, I searched the room, and this time you say, okay, how, where, tell me where you look. Then the party gets into there's shit in here I have to actually find and look for.
Aha. So I think that throws me to, if you don't do it at session 0, I think there is the first time it happens, it's like the first fight. You can tell everybody everything you want about what the expectations are. Everybody can agree at session 0. They absolutely agree. I am a firm believer in the first session needs to touch on some of the main things that session 0, not forcing the use of an X card if you're using an X card, not forcing a use of a safety tool. What I'm talking about is like, look, I'm saying I'd like you to guys use in-game description of what you're searching. Oh, yes, of course, Sean, that's what we'll do. Of course, that's what we'll do. And then the first time they do something, you have to call them on it right away. And then say, remember, we talked about this. Because if you do wait, and you finally wait till your game master frustration builds up, like, you jerks, you haven't been doing the thing we agreed to, it's almost too late. Because then you're going to get exactly what you just freaking mentioned. Oh, wait a minute. It's been 10 sessions. Sean's never asked for that before. I've been through 15 rooms in this dungeon. Oh, there's got to be something here. That's what's going to happen, man. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It does happen. And it has happened. And
continues to happen.
Part of me would kind of adhere to that. Come on now. You got to give me some details of what you're doing. And usually I push on that a little bit. I don't do it up front because I think that...
Well, you're doing it wrong.
Well, that is totally possible.
I'm kidding.
But I'm playing in a group where it's like, it's Jeff. It's the Jeff group. So I could just tell him, Jeff, you got to tell me what you're doing, man. You just can't go in there and tell me, I searched. Blah. See, I could throw a die at him, and I'm not worried about hurting his feelings.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's like if I look at Lenny, I'm like, look, you son of a bitch. Tell me
exactly.
Tell me what you're fucking looking at. If you don't tell me, I'm assuming you're wandering through the room with one hand up your ass because you're too goddamn stupid to look for anything. All right, Brett, I'm sorry. Well, Jesus Christ, we've been playing for 30 years. How do you not know this?
Exactly. But
you do that at a con game with people you don't know or online. This doesn't go over so well.
That doesn't work. No. I'm going to try that, though. No, I'm not. I'm not going to try that.
So I honestly think an intro event scene combat where you get to implement the expectations at the beginning of the game is handy.
I'm going to have to do it for Tomb of Horrors.
I think you do. Honestly,
I do.
And I didn't put this in place just for you to say that. Now that you mentioned it, I
have to, because it doesn't facilitate that type of meta at the time. Like, oh, I'm going to search the door. It's, where? Like, you have to tell me because there is a particular spot that if you search and hit, you're going to be in trouble.
Yes, absolutely.
Or you may not. Like, that's the only way you won't be in trouble.
Or you'll miss something.
Or you'll miss something.
Or you'll find bad data or good data or all the data. Who knows?
Because it is a different, it was written during a different period of time. And therefore, during that quote unquote era, and even today, the folks that play that type of, that older school type feel, that's what they kind of lean on. And you didn't have a search check.
Now, one of the things that we're kind of going back and forth between GMs and players. So one of the things so we're kind of on the player side. We'll stick here for a little bit. One of the things I have found that from a player's perspective, I have had some players over the time that have a hard time saying, well, I don't know. I mean, what's really in the room? And then He's like, is the candlestick taller than the other one? What shade of blue is this? Is the water like, is it moving water? Is it
Oh,
blue
it can
water?
get ridiculous for
So,
sure.
so sometimes there is a beauty in the search check.
So if this candle is lower than the other, it
By
must have been
how many drips
burning
of
longer.
Oh my god, that means there's a vampire in the room or whatever. So the beauty of the search check can be, I'll tell you what, guys. I've got a DC. And I do this with my Avalon setting, is that like, look, if you're investigating a thing, you're looking for a deal, whatever it is, you roll. And if you roll with like a critical success, I'll give you all the data. So conceivably, in a Tomb of Horrors type of scenario, you could be searching a door. You could have a crew that doesn't want to talk descriptively. And you say, well, to get all the data is a DC 16. To be close, but not quite, is a 10. You could break it out. It would require more work on your part, but then they roll, and they roll a 10. They only get so much. They roll a 17. Hey, they get all the data equal or lesser to the number they hit. So you can use that. But again, from a descriptive, from a alignment perspective, it would be handy to say, hey, this is how I'd like to do this type of searching. When you guys search for something, you're rolling a die, and I have a range of target numbers. If you hit the number that I've set or higher, you get all of it. If you're under it, up to a certain amount, you get it slightly less,
Well,
slightly
that's
less, nothing.
pretty kind of standard.
No, it's not.
In 3.0 it is.
Well, yeah, if you do that. So what I'm saying is most people go, you search the room, you find nothing.
That's true.
It can be very, though this is an expectation piece, right? It can be very black and white, very binary. You either found it or you didn't. And what I'm saying is that to help the investigation, help the descriptive components of it, to draw it out of your players and for players to know that it's necessary by giving them a range of what they've found, sometimes it helps.
And I should stipulate what I'm talking to is usually knowledge-based.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So the higher the roll, they get all of it.
Yep. But you can do it with anything. I'm searching the door. I'm scanning it. I'm running my hands over it.
A handle.
Okay, cool. Now,
and a keyhole.
So I rolled. I found a handle and a keyhole. Wayne's playing next to me. Wayne rolls an 18. Wayne finds that the handle doesn't turn right out of the gate, and the keyhole he notices that it's a knee level instead of waist high. Huh. Interesting.
Oh.
So those pieces.
Oh, that must mean something, though.
It could, yeah. It could definitely mean something.
It's like the tall person lives here or short person lives here.
You never know.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to write that down. It's crazy. It's going to be nuts.
It's brilliant.
But this is all, sometimes I think we get caught up with the bullshit.
Oh, well, that's the deal, though. You're a guy, though, who loves people to say, you don't want people to say, I greyhawk it. You want them to explain what they're doing.
I do, but I also had certain situations where I've just said, screw it, man. Screw it. They go in there, you search, you got a 20 or whatever, you search, here it is. Like, parts.
You want binary?
Well, I don't know, not necessarily, but I think there is times when, especially if it is divulging stuff. I'll give you an example. My Call of Cthulhu, I wonder if anybody's listening to this. I don't think anybody's listening to this. There was a encounter where there's two people in Jackson Elias's room. Okay. And depending on when the player characters show up and what they do when they show up depends on what happens. So, for example, if they show up and they don't screw around, they can find the two people in the room.
Correct.
If they screw around, knock on the door, I don't know, maybe he's not in there and they're talking outside the room and they're hemming and hawing on what to do, that will give the opportunity of the people in the room to escape. If they escape, they are to take clues with them.
Yes.
Sean, being the game master, wants the characters to actually have a good amount of the clues.
Correct.
I just do. Like, I don't really give a shit.
They don't want to just burst in, find the body, cut in pieces, not understand what kind of weapon was used and blah, blah, blah.
Or where to go from here.
Got it.
Right. In those instances, which isn't wholly uncommon in the old D&D sphere, yeah, here you go. This is what it does. This is what's in there. This is what you're looking at.
So,
What are you gonna do?
So as a game master, then, when the players are standing outside hemming and hawing, from an explanation perspective, are you like using in-game or metagame saying, you guys are standing here for a long time? How long do you want this conversation to take? Are you doing that type of thing to help push them along? Because to me, it's not only just explanations and descriptions, but sometimes it's a description of passage of time. Because I've had it where my players have sat and talking. I'm like, okay, hang on a second. Are you really seriously having this hour-and-a-half long debate right now?
That is something you have to nail players down on anyway, because they will
Oh,
sit
yeah.
and talk about whatever for an hour and not. Like, no. This is like we're doing this like within a few minutes.
Yeah, and I do this. I'll do this off with combat. I'll run combat. I get intense. I yell. I point. I scream. I shake the table. I get people fucking paying attention. We go. Like, you, what are you doing? Next, over there. Oh, boom, boom, boom. It's combat. It's crazy. It's gunfire. What's going on? And you make it intense or feel like it's happening fast. From a description perspective, just to keep it moving.
Right.
You don't have to be like loud, yelly like me.
No, right.
But do you, as people are doing stuff like this, I guess, so we've bitched about, players not doing stuff before, but as a game master, what are you and I doing to, when we're giving information out, are we giving enough of the right stuff to encourage the type of play we want?
Yeah, we should probably get back to what Matt's asking.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Because it's interesting. It's very easy to go back to, well, the players should be blah, blah, blah. But I think, because let's totally step back for a second. Let's talk box text. Back in the day, when you had your modules and some of the newer adventures and stuff right now, you would have, there'd be a section of text boxed or shaded. It would say, read this aloud to players. Everything else was for the game master. It was specifically designed in a way to give the players everything that they would see at first glance, type of thing. Like, this is what you see when you enter the room is blah. So you read a lot more prepackaged modules than I do. I don't even know how prevalent this is right now.
Yeah, there's still box text.
Are you using it?
Oh, yeah. And I might not. I mean, I read it somewhat verbatim, but if it doesn't make sense in the first person, third person kind of perspective,
change it around a little bit.
I will summarize it a little bit.
There's too much. Let me sum up.
Yeah, but otherwise I typically read it. Sometimes what happens with box tests is that it's weird because okay, as you enter the room, nobody's entered the room.
Yeah, the other thing that's interesting is it'll usually tell you at the beginning of the module, at least all the ones I've read that I recall, are like, read aloud or paraphrase. It will tell you right at the fucking beginning of the module, and people forget that. Like, hey, I, as the writer, am trying to give you an idea of how to do this.
Right.
So try this. Rearrange it as you see fit, which is where one of the things that you do, Sean, which I really think is great for running the pre-published stuff, is you read it and then read ahead enough, and you have a grasp of what's going on in the adventure so that when the next piece of box text comes up, you have the opportunity to mangle it, change it, adjust it, because you already know what's going on. You know what I'm saying?
Well, some of it can be very, very, very confusing. In Tomb of Annihilation, there were a few things that the party would encounter, and I'd have to sit there and read it and read it and read it. And I don't know why, but I'm like, this makes no freaking sense. And I'm like, why isn't this making sense? And it isn't, and these are really critical because they're on an encounter where there's traps. Like, if you don't convey this properly,
you give the wrong data.
If you give them the wrong info, they're
and that's a big deal from an expectation setting perspective. If you're coming into a room,
wait a minute.
You didn't tell me the floor was tiled like a fucking chessboard.
There's a different colored tile floor.
Yeah, you didn't say that, you dick.
It's.
Yeah, no, that's
what you see and what, like, okay, it's, and then even if it's like a little bit off, like there's masks with the eyes cut out. Oh, okay. So they're hanging on the wall? No. They're like, the masks are facing you as if you could put your face in the mask.
Huh.
Oh, okay.
Are
So
they built into the wall? Can I take them off the wall?
right, exactly. No, and then it's like, well, then I try to pull it off. No, it's not hanging there. Well, I don't understand. I'm confused.
Yeah.
And then it becomes this weird. And then what happens? Okay, hold on. Oh, yes, they're hanging on the wall.
Well, I didn't notice that right off. That's the other one.
They're hanging on the wall. Oh, so I can take them off and put it on. Then, wait a minute. So you put it on? No.
I'm saying I could.
I could if I wanted to.
This is where I Attack the Darkness comes in, right? This is so.
Then you're like, jeez, I messed that up.
The other thing that's interesting with in-game elements, we've talked about this before. What do you have to describe every bitty, teeny weeny nuance? And this is kind of where we're getting to. Is depending on what your players are. Sometimes you're like, look, what's in the room? Okay, there's 16 pieces of silverware. There are five plates, 2 cups. Oh my God, I'm so bored with this. But some of those players are the same ones. They'll be like, well, I guess I have no weapon. We could grab a wine bottle. Oh, you never said there was a wine bottle. I mean, I've played with those people, right? We're like, well, you didn't tell me I could have grabbed a wine bottle. If I had known that there was like, a poker and a shovel near the fireplace, I'd have used that as a makeshift weapon. You didn't ask. Well, you never told me.
There was a tweet. Is it on our forums or on Twitter? Somebody might be listening to this going, that was me. And it was the space people that land on a planet.
Yeah.
And they're in an environmental suit. And they check to see if the air is breathable. And if it is, then they take off the suit. Or they unmask.
Yeah.
And the person's like, there's other reasons why you would want to be masked other than just being able to breathe the air.
Oh, yeah. I saw that tweet. Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons for protection. You might not want to do that.
But how many people are playing like sci-fi games where it's like, well, it's class M, nitrous oxygen makeup.
I take my helmet off.
Yeah, I take it seems safe. I take my helmet off.
And that's when you die.
And then there's some disease that's airborne and is going to kill you. But nobody told them.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to the topic, it'd be like, I wouldn't have done it if I would have known that.
It's interesting because and this is where I kind of go back to my piece at the beginning is I start to gauge. I honestly, when I'm running with a new crew, I run the first encounter as I start describing things and I work through. It's a test. It's a test for me. It's a test for them. Not like, are they any good or am I any good? But it's like, okay, we talked about stuff that we like. We had a session 0. Even if we said, hey, I'll describe things, blah, blah, blah. I guess can make stuff up if you say, hey, I want to grab a bottle of wine. I don't care about that or whatever. Run into an environment and seriously almost run it from a very meta perspective. Where I run the first one through. If it's a combat, say, hey, now remember, if you want to grab something, you can do that. Remember we talked. Oh, yeah. I don't need to. I do have a sword. I don't feel like grabbing a wine bottle. Okay, great. And the same thing with descriptions. At the end of a description, I will often say, does this make sense? And I honestly, that's a piece I learned from my day job, trying to translate technical jargon to C-level executives who really don't understand it anymore. Or they used to understand it like back when Wi-Fi was run off crystals. They understand that, but they don't understand Wi-Fi today. So trying to explain to them what DFS channeling is, oh my God, this is crazy. How do I explain this? So you go through a thing, you look at people and say, does that make sense? Are there any questions? And you can describe a room, describe a thing, and say, okay, it's laid out like a chalkboard. Here, let me draw a thing. So these are black squares. These are white squares. It looks kind of like a truncated chessboard. There's light on the walls. It's all here. Any questions? And then allowing the players to ask you different bits and pieces. What I have learned then is I'm paying attention to when the players are asking me questions back. I'm like, this is the type of thing that player, and that player care about because that's what they're asking about. So sometimes opening it up and saying, this is what I'm giving you. Do you have any questions about what's there? Sometimes there's no time. My cheeky little blah, 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 blah dragon. Oh, fuck, it's a dragon. Jesus Christ, you bastard, you buried the lead. Like I said, in high school, I used to have to do that because we were all in high school. I couldn't get anybody to fucking pay attention to me. But I think nowadays what I do is I describe the thing. If it's a combat, like, look, there's a handful of goblins. They stand up from the table, Poker chips go flying, cards and dice go everywhere. They scream Briark and they charge at you. Okay, how many are there? I don't know, maybe half dozen, 7, 8. You don't. It's hard to tell. It's a big clustered mess. Jesus. All right, let's roll for initiative. Bam, 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 bam. Oh, it turns out there are 5 of them. Okay, we beat them all. All right, what the hell is in this room? Describe. Does that make sense? So, how many things? Now, look, there are 5-foot lockers. There's 6 bags, 7 beds. Blah blah blah. And going through it sometimes methodically and repeating yourself, or even writing it down for people can be very helpful. But I think, for me, I have a hard time having that expectation talk up front, even with new players. And I find that figuring that out as we go, because I don't know if all players and even game masters can clearly articulate what they're expecting from the descriptions. So I find that doing it kind of a back and forth conversation as we go through teaches me a lot. And then 3rd, 4th room in, I've got it. I know what Sean, Wayne, Eileen, Melissa, I know what those folks are looking for in a room description, so I give it to them. Does that make sense, Sean? See, I just did it to you.
Yes, it makes sense,
Let's see
Brett.
if you're paying attention.
Yes.
So how do you? So that's the thing I'm doing. I have no idea if that's of any help to anybody else. But how are you handling it, Sean? When you're at a con, let's say you're playing with new, not like Jeff crew. I'm not playing with my Wausau crew. You're playing with a different crew. Do you explain up front, or how do you go about it?
With the two
With the expectation of what you're going to do.
Yeah, 2 Mahors that I'm going to have to explain that they are going to have to elaborate a little bit on what they're looking for.
Are you going to explain to them that if they don't do it, their lives are at stake, type of thing?
Could
like,
be.
Look, this is.
Yeah, it could be. Like, hey, if you well,
the reason I asked Sean is because some people are like, oh, so you just want more description because it's cool, right?
Oh.
And if the answer is, hey, well, no, not just because it's cool and adds flavor, but this dungeon is designed in such a way that you're screwed if you don't look at details, if you don't do this. So I'm saying I could see you having new players at that table that you've never played with before say, oh, in their head going, oh, Sean wants cool descriptions. I'll give them cool descriptions. Not understanding that if they don't do that, they will the potential to miss vital clues or get limbs removed is high.
Well, part of me wants to just shit can skills altogether.
Oh, and force them to.
What do? Just black out all the skills.
Or the other thing you could do is you could say, what do you do? And then tell them, that sounds like this skill. Try that.
Yeah.
Or black them out, too. You could just make it all. Nothing wrong with that.
Everybody can search. I mean, anybody can do anything.
Yeah, all of the skills on your sheet you can try.
Yeah. And frankly, back in the day,
there were no skill lists.
You kind of figured things out or you didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this argument about like player skill versus all this
No,
stuff.
but I guess what I'm hearing you say, though, is that if you want to do that and you hand out character sheets, all the skills are blanked, you better explain to them what you're expecting.
Yeah.
And clearly, because in that type of game, man, those expectations.
This isn't 5e.
This isn't 5e. You son of a bitch. You lied to me. But
it's 5e light.
5e light. But to Matt's perspective, though, that's like a session 0 just before you kick that sucker off saying, look, we're going to run this way. I need this information because it's important. Not only just important for finding data, clues, and whatever, but also saving your bacon. Because if they don't understand how critical that is, or they are going to rely on...
Some of you are going to die.
Some of you are going to die. Look to your right, look to your left. At the end of the semester, half of these people will not be here.
The end of this session, the people around you may not be with you. If you have a hard problem dealing with character death,
this game is not for you.
You can touch the X card and slowly remove yourself from the table. Ah, man. I don't know.
I'll tell you, though, I don't know if...
There's a balance.
It is a balance. I think it's the session 0 description that Matt's talking about. How do we say, hey, this is how I'm going to describe things? It's difficult because the description from the game master's perspective especially is, when I'm describing the room to you, I am the world and your senses and all those pieces. And as the player, you should say things like, does it smell funny? Even if I didn't describe smell, but I describe mold or rot, you should say, do I smell it? And in the old school days, people would be like, no, you don't. Oh, that means it's illusion.
Wait a minute.
Clever.
Wait a minute. Brett, you smell. You've never used smell before. What's it smell like?
Yeah.
Oh, it smells in here. It doesn't smell in anywhere else. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, I
great.
mean, as Matt says, it seems to be kind of hammered through on a case-by-case basis. And I think the need to build up that vocabulary of action descriptions, as Matt calls it, I think is almost required in a way. And maybe I'm dithering on the point here, Matt, but I really think that it's almost a group-by-group perspective. And once you've done it long enough, people get the hang of it. And as I was saying, though, is that when Sean's explaining stuff to me, when he was running D&D and I was playing, or even Star Wars, he's telling me what the world looks like, feels like, tastes like, smells like, what I hear. And if my senses are to be tricked, and Sean gives me like, yeah, you don't even hear any music. That's that's weird. I don't hear music. I bet the walls are soundproof. Sean is clear as his game master perspective to not even require me to roll for an observation roll or of any kind to say, no, the walls aren't soundproofed. It's something else, right? Or no, that is weird. Or why would there be soundproof walls in a bar or whatever? That should be a sign of something. Sean could be like, oh, okay, Brett's character's written this off as, that's just a weird anomaly. Moving on. Why is there green stuff on the dungeon walls? It's mold. Moving on. Yeah. It's not that the dungeon master is there to trick you, but they're giving you information in bits and pieces. And I think when we used to play, and when players still do, you used to smell, oh my God, I'm not out to kill you. Sean may be out to kill you, so watch out for that. But I think it's a very difficult job as the game master when you're describing things. Even players are describing things about their own character. It's hard to give it all away because you want to have some mystery, some reason for somebody to look in the room when you're talking a dungeon, even somebody to check out the glade. Yeah, there's a little, fairy ring of mushrooms and there's a daisy growing in the center of it. Really? What's that about?
Oh.
I don't know. You want to go in there and look at it? I don't know. Is it a tall daisy? Yeah, it's 6-7 inches tall. Seems like that's weird. I didn't give them all the data. I didn't tell them everything about it because I want them to investigate. I want them to ask questions. And I think that's a piece of the game master expectation thing that it might be maybe worth saying to players is like, look, part of my job as I give you descriptions is to leave holes and voids so that you in turn have a conversation with me, which is a great thing that Dungeon World does, is they want you to have a conversation about how this is going to function. I give you a bit of stuff. There's voids and holes. I may not give you all of it, and that's okay. You as the player can then ask me detailing, defining questions. Does that make sense, Sean?
Yes.
Because I think when you did that, when you were running for us, that helped. You'd state a thing, give us the basic detail you'd catch at a glance or at the first look, and we always ask defining questions afterwards, And I think that's a legitimate part of the RPG conversation that happens at the table or across the internet, as the case may be.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Did we even come close to answering Matt's question? Probably not.
Did we?
Probably not. Matt,
let's reread Matt's question, shall we?
I feel bad. Matt, we may not have actually hit this, but
there is no answer.
Honestly, I don't know if there is on this one. This is a really, it depends for me. It honestly is.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
It just goes either way. It can be all over the place.
Some of it is style.
Yes, I agree. A lot of
some game masters I have played with gotcha game masters. Like, you didn't check under the stairs.
Yeah, I hate those.
You forgot to say you shut the door. Therefore, goblins attack.
Well, that's another thing too. I think that there are some scenarios where there is that ooh.
Yeah. But I think to set that up though, I go back to my idea of that intro, that prodding before you catch somebody doing something stupid. You say, so, okay, you guys are camping there. Are you shutting the door? Are you pitening the door? Are you a standing guard? What are you doing? Because I need to know this stuff, guys. Because if you don't, Wandering Monsters, y'all know this. You played long enough. Oh, yeah, Sean,
But
blah,
you
blah,
also
blah.
you also have to do that to make it routine.
Yeah.
To make sure that it's not.
That's what I'm saying.
He's asking to do the door. No, not
it's
last
at the
time.
beginning. It's at the beginning, the second time, the third time, and by the 15th time, when those jerks have gotten super complacent and no longer have anybody guarding the prisoner.
Oh, come on, Brett. We've already said that we have them tied up every room, and
I've asked you every session.
We penny the door.
Yeah,
Oh, and now this is the one where the creature comes through.
Yeah, you didn't do it this time. You did not.
On,
every session we've been playing for 15 sessions. That's it, people.
I've said it for every room, and now just because I didn't say it for this room, now you're gonna throw this. Okay, I see how it is. All right, well, let's roll. I got 20 on initiative, Dret.
You game with my crew, don't you?
I game with everybody's crew.
Exactly. So I guess the other piece here I would leave us with is that I don't think there's a perfect explanation. There's not a perfect way to go about it. One of the best things you can get is a comfortable group, as Sean said with his buddy Jeff. God damn it, Jeff could bounce a 20 off his head and say, "You son of a gun, get back in the game. Come on, guys." Have a fun group that doesn't take anything too seriously, get too wound up. I said, but at the end of the day, you're going to have conversations. You're going to have conflict over descriptions. It's part of the game because it's a verbal piece. Even when you draw maps and have minis, and you go, oh yeah, behind this, big stalagmite column, there's an ogre. Well, I could have seen that. Look at the size of that mini. Oh my God. It happens. The tactical map is not the answer for all of the concerns from descriptions. But I think being consistent is a big thing, and working on it between you and the players back and forth. What do I, as we're playing, use the game master drawing it out, and use the players providing and asking the game master to give you more. Having that consistent back and forth, you limit the amount of gotcha feeling and you increase the fun. That's how I think.
Yeah, I think the consistency piece is pretty.
Yeah, because if you vacillate and jump all over, then you lose trust on both sides of the table.
Yeah, and every time you describe something, doesn't always have to be followed up with a gotcha.
No,
that's what I think. I think that's another thing that just happens with gamers is that weird inconsistencies, and it's only done in a particular instance, and then there's a gotcha. When honestly, it could just be you enter the room, there's a tiled floor, it's black and white checkered. And if they choose to go in a particular route and it doesn't do anything, that's okay.
Sometimes it's fun.
It's fun
when they map it out and then the ogre army is chasing them back. Fuck. Black, white, black, white, black, black, white, white. And they struggle and they go, and then they look behind the ogres, plow over it. Son of a gun. It didn't matter. Jesus Christ, shit. Sometimes it's fun, right?
Yeah, I want to do like an Indiana Jones temple where there are no traps.
You just walk in, there's an idol, you take it. There's a pit. It's not really a pit. It's just where the wall collapsed because there was an earthquake there. Nothing bad. All the traps have been triggered. That'd be another good one.
Right.
The previous adventure party is fucking dead. And everybody went through. Forresto got stabbed. This guy got poisoned. This guy fell down a cliff.
Con game. All right.
And you walk all the way through it like,
walk right through.
That was it? It's called the walkthrough.
You come to a room, different tiles and everything, colored.
It's called no harm, no foul, or whatever we want to call it.
There's a riddle, and then there's a guy that's like, he's pegged to the other wall.
That guy pegged another guy burned to a crisp, and the door's open.
Yeah.
Do we answer the riddle? Well, the door's already open. What do we do here?
Right.
People could sit there for a while doing that. Anyway, Matt, I hope to God we got somewhere close to what you're looking for. If we didn't, call BS, let us know. And listeners, of course, if you guys and ladies have tips, tricks, other options and ways to do this, if we screwed something up or missed a very obvious point from your perspective, let us know, as you old folks are wont to do. And we'll be happy to call it out. So, cool, man. Let's move on.
All right, let's get into die roll. All right. So this week, few things.
Yeah, what do we got?
Ray Otis started a thread on our forums listing random character generators for a variety of RPGs.
That is awesome because I'll tell you, man, running a con game, as Sean and I are shortly, having random character generators is pretty damn handy.
Yes.
Pretty damn handy.
So check that out. Thanks, Ray, for starting that. Some good resources there.
Good job, brother.
The Adventures of Gaia. Hey, on YouTube. So Melissa and the gang, check that out. We'll have a link to their show. I think it's its own system. I have not. The preview or the intro video is quite entertaining, telling you about what it's about a little bit. So check it out. Give them some love. See what it's all about.
Very slick.
Brett, you have the next two.
Yeah. So the first one I have, I'll throw out there is the Matt Colville on running D&D. I talked about it at the beginning, just a link right there. The other one is the animated spellbook on YouTube. I caught this. I was watching something and animated spellbook come out. These are short little comic animated cartoon strips of like, hey, this is how prestidigitation works in 5e. This is how an attack with a spell works. This is how fireball works. This is how this works, haste works, and so forth. It's really well done. They're cute. They're fun. They're dead on. They're super entertaining. And they're like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, a minute and a half. They're short, punchy. They get all the stuff there and great visuals. And the art, I love the art. It's a fun, whimsical approach. And the guy just does great work. So anyway, animated spellbook on YouTube. Z Bashu, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, is the one who does the animation and whatnot. So anyway, link in the show notes. What's the last one you got there?
Dracula, The Evidence. Kickstarter ends November 20th, 2019. So there's about 30 days after this drops. Bram Stoker's novel as an interactive experience, a box set telling the story through letters, clues, maps, phonograph records, and more. So if you are Dracula dossier, Night's Black Agents enthusiastic individual, you will want to check this Kickstarter out.
Yeah, they've got, 30 as of today, October 14th, 2019. They've got 37 days to go. They need 140K. They're at 108 right now, 108 and some change. So they're creeping up on it. It looks pretty cool. Man, I tell you, man, back in the day when I was into vampires, this would be my jam.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It looks very cool. Very, very cool.
But that's what we have for Die Roll. That's what we have for this episode. Brett, what are we talking about next week?
We're going to talk about tracking PC wealth. We've talked about separating PCs and money and such, and one of our fine listeners and friends on the forums put this out there. We'll talk more about it in detail, but tracking PC wealth next time.
Excellent. Can't wait. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. This is Sean.
And this is Brett. Good night and good game and all.
This episode of Gaming and BS brought to you with the help from the following BSers. Graham Minor, Corey Wynn, Hawk Sparrow, Larry Hout, Mark Tasaka, Pure Mongrel, Chris Steele, Ron Bishop, Thomas Hook, Rain Humphrey, Craig, Brandon Barnes, Laramie Wall, Dan LaValle, Jason Hobbs, Sky, Roger Braslett, John Hammersley, Old School DM, Perry Besor, Michael Dinos, Jim Fitzpatrick, Christopher Gray, Bruce Cunnington, John Kayward, Corey Gonzalez, Eileen Barnes, Robert Nemeth, Niall Diamond, Howard Bishop, Stephen Dragonspawn, Mark Anthony Benedetti, Eric Salzweedle, Trevor Davis, The Closet Gamer, Jeff Goat, Aaron Coleman, Ray Otis, C.W. Mellencamp, Craig Huber, Rich Wishon, Old Scouser Roleplaying, Jared Rasher, Andy Hall, David Baylog, Harrigan, Melissa Bushinsky, Brian Rumble, Henry Newcomb, Chad Gleeman, Finnulf, Merkel Froelich, Lord Tentacle, Joe Swick, Curtis Takahashi, Josh Wallace, Kevin Lovecraft, Andy Olson, Tony Sugarloaf Baker, Jeff Seifert, and Aaron Raelia. Did you know by giving $1 a month you can actually get our shows earlier than the public? Head over to gamingnbs.com/Patreon. That's Patreon. Thanks, BSers! This has been a Litterbox Studio production.